StitchyTube. Settle down and watch StitchyTube. Hey, this is Teresa Bennett talking to you from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and this is going to be my first StitchyTube. It's FlossTube, but I had already written a theme song for MiniTube, and I thought I could use kind of the same song for my FlossTube videos. So I'm just going to call myself StitchyTube with the kitten stitcher. You can see I've got my kitten lady t-shirt on today. I'll show it off. It's got the Morton Salt Lady, and it says, "When it rains, it pours," and she's got her little carrier here somewhere, and it's raining kittens. And part of the reason I call myself Kitten Stitcher is that it's very important to me to help kittens, and I have fostered hundreds in the last probably 6 or 7 years. Right now I've currently got 3. They're doing great. They weren't doing great, but they're doing much better. They'll soon be ready for adoption, and they may tootle through here. I'll definitely share them on videos if they come, but I'm not going to go chase them down. They're probably sleeping or playing. Anyway, it's fun to be here, fun to be making a needlework video. My friend Jennifer from Jen's Stitching Niche has been doing FlossTube videos for a little while. She's been watching for a long time, and she kind of got me into watching FlossTube videos, which I've really enjoyed. A little bit about me. I started stitching when I was about, I always said when I was 12, but when I think about it, really when I was about 10, I went to 4-H camp and bought a little needlepoint kit, and it was a disaster. I don't have it. I don't know what happened to it, but anyway, that's about when I started stitching. But I was always interested in arts and crafts, and needlework just seemed like a natural fit for me. I got some kits. I had some relatives that did different forms of needlework, and I just really loved it, and stitched for a long time, and eventually started my own website called Teresa's, what was it called? Teresa's Needlework website. I mean, it was just like Teresa Bennett's needlework site or something like that. And that was back in about 1994, 95, and I did it just for fun. Within about a year, I was getting about 6,000 hits a month, which was pretty good. I really was just sharing what I knew about needlework, and I have missed that. I had a needlework shop and website for about 17 years, and back in 2013, I went and managed an animal shelter, and then I got another job at Books A Million and ended up as a manager there. And right now I am operations manager for Barnes & Noble bookstore at the University of Southern Mississippi. And I'm operations manager and assistant manager, which means basically I'm a troubleshooter. It's a nice 8-to-5 job. Most weekends I don't work, and so it's steady, but it's not overwhelming, and that's really great for me. What I'm looking for, though, is to really get back into needlework, back into designing. You may know me as Shakespeare's Peddler and one half of Raise the Roof Designs. I am restocking Hoffman Distributing, and so they have got some of my charts. I'm sending them more, and I'm happy to be back. You people on FlossTube has really inspired me to get back into needlework, and Jen has too. My good friend Jen Reagan, she stitches like a maniac, and her love for it is infectious and contagious. And I think a lot of times what happens to people who own needlework shops or even who are designers is that you get away from stitching for pleasure. You start off that way, and then if you talk to a lot of shop owners like, "Oh, what are you stitching these days?" A lot of them will say, "Oh, I really don't stitch anymore," because you kind of live it and breathe it, and you do so much of it at work that when you get home, you don't necessarily feel like going back to needlework. You kind of need a break. And so I love needlework, have loved it for a long time, and am having fun working on projects and getting back into designing. So anyway, it's good to see you. One of the things one of my goals here is not only just to teach you about what I know about needlework as I continue to learn about needlework, but also this is going to be, I hope, an apology-free zone. I love watching FlossTube, and it makes me sad when I see people apologize. "Oh, I'm sorry, it's been 3 weeks since I posted. Oh, I'm sorry you can't see this very well. Oh, I'm sorry that I haven't made more progress on this project." Don't be sorry, ladies and gentlemen. You're wonderful. You're sharing yourself. You're making yourself vulnerable to so many people and sharing what you know and what you love. And no apologies are needed. I know that sometimes the internet can be a crabby place and a very critical place, and I'm going to do my best, and I hope that you enjoy me, and if you don't, just click away and go watch somebody that you enjoy more. I don't even like me all the time, so if you don't like me, that's totally fine. But I do hope that you'll stay and learn. I have probably about an hour's worth of material for today. One of the things I'm going to do, and I hope you stick around for, is the Mother of all giveaways. This video, I have an amazing giveaway that I'm sure has never been done on a FlossTube video before. So stick around and see how you can enter, and I will give details later. So you're going to have to stay tuned to find out how to enter. I will talk more about myself as videos go on. I don't necessarily need to do like a 20 questions type of a thing. I'm a very open person. I try to be very honest, and I will share as much of me as I can. I'm imperfect, and I'm funny, and I really just enjoy people. So I'm glad to be here, and I hope that I can make your stitching time, if that's what you're doing while watching me, I hope I can make your stitching time more enjoyable by keeping you company. Okay, so one thing that I came up with recently, Jennifer is kind of the queen of starting things. She last year said, oh, you know, in 2017, I really would like to start a new project every day for, you know, whatever it was, 3 months. And I said, well, why wait until next year? Why not just start it now? And she was like, you're absolutely right. So she started like 100 projects or something crazy like that. And it was super fun to hear about, you know, what she was doing every day. And even though I had a needlework store and I have, you know, a pretty good stash after spending almost 20 years in the business and being a designer myself, I probably have 25 whips, which to me, that's not that many, considering I've been stitching for, you know, 37 years or so. I don't think that that's too bad. But she has kind of challenged me a little bit to start more things, and actually kind of what starting projects does is it reinvigorates you. Sometimes you get bogged down in big projects you've started, or you're not enjoying another project for whatever reason, but you have all these beautiful charts and beautiful threads and beautiful fabrics, and you can see I've got some stashed around in here. This piece of furniture here is full of fabrics and threads and things, and I've got them everywhere. And so sometimes, you know, your own stash can be very inspiring, and there are things where you've wanted to start it, and why not start it? You already have the stuff. If you never finish it, who cares? I have been to the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and they have a room full of needlework samplers. Not all of them have been finished. Some of them are just partially done. Some of them are barely even started. And they're still in a museum. And not even that our pieces need to end up in a museum. They don't. But it's supposed to be fun. This is our hobby. This is what we do for fun. And so I came up with a way, you know, to not only start more projects, but to kind of have fun picking them out by looking at my stash in different ways. And so I have this little basket, and I think I got this, I think this was an old colonial basket. And I will make a list down below for you if you want to try this technique too. And what I did is I just took scrapbook paper, just little squares of scrapbook paper that I had, and, you know, cut little squares. And then each one of these is an idea for a start. It's not which one to start, it's a start to a journey. So it's just basically like an idea, and then you can kind of go from that. And I'll make a complete list, but I'll pull a few just to kind of show you the idea of what it is. And so this kind of leads you to a fun trip through your stash as you try to decide what fits this category and what do I feel like starting. And so the first one here is something spooky. And so it could be something Halloween, it could be something just kind of with a grim verse, it could be something kind of dark and mysterious. But anyway, just then I would go look at my stash and say, what do I have that's kind of spooky? And I pick out something that seems fun at that time. Now when I stitch, Jennifer's very regimented, and I just admire her. She just goes at it, and she gets so much done. But she will, you know, like one day work on something, and then I'm working on this today, and then tomorrow I'm on to this other thing. And I'm just like, I will stitch on something until I start to feel either tired of it or frustrated with it, or it's just not, I'm just not having fun anymore, and then I'll switch to something else. But my idea is to start one of these. I get to start one a month. So I get to pull from this one time a month, unless I finish something, in which case I get to pull another one. And you know what? If I'm having a bad day, or I'm just feeling like I have something I want to do, whatever, I'll pull another one. You know, needlework, you know, some people really like the rules of needlework. I like that there aren't rules for needlework. You can do what you want to do. Think about what you want to think about. Create a piece the way you want to create it. Change colors, change fabric. Here's another one. This one is a new pattern, something released in the last year. So it would either need to be something that I have, or maybe I would go find something that's kind of a relatively new release. I know I have one in there that it has to be a chart that's at least 20 years old, which I think is kind of a cool one too. Short and wide. So that's finding a piece that's going to be a horizontal piece. I'll pull 3 more just so you kind of get the idea. But like I said, I'll put the list below so that you can see what I did. And then I've been adding things as I think of them. Like Steve said, why not put one in there to let me pick one out? And so I'm going to do one for each Steve, Harrison, and Graham and let them each pick one out if I pull that slip of paper. Something huge! And so that would be a giant piece. And I know that in there there's a something small or something tiny. Out of print. Okay, so a chart that I have that you can't get anymore. And then what did I say? 3 more, so I'll do 1 more. Did I do 3? I don't know. Buy a chart, start it when it arrives. So that is kind of permission to go ahead and go shopping and find something new and fun. But anyway, you kind of see what I did there. It's, you know, I've got them in the basket. I think I ended up with like 35 or so in there, which of course would take me well through. I couldn't get through all those in a year unless I'm having a lot of bad days. But like I said, I'm adding as I go. And I think it'll be a really fun way to start projects. I did already pull my first one, and I've got things set up here where you can't see. But I'm going to show you this first one that I started. This is so the one that I pulled was something with a saying, and this one is called Esther Sire. You know what? Let's see. I'm going to hold something behind this. I know you're supposed to do that on FlossTube, so you can see it better. Well, that's not a great idea either. Let's see if I've got... That's not great either. Well, I'm just not having much luck. So you're going to just have to get over it. Esther Sire. And this is a Plum Street Sampler's reproduction. And this is one that I've got the chart here so you can see the cover. Well, I don't have the chart. I don't know where it went. So I don't. But Esther Sire, S-Y-E-R is how it's spelled. And I had seen this reproduction a while back, and I just thought the colors were so, so pretty. And Paulette reproduced it, and I think the reproduction is not even, she just shows the original sampler on the cover of the chart. But I just like the colors, I like the simplicity of it. You can see the borders change. And down here at the bottom was a verse, but what I did is I changed it. So it says Esther Sire wrought her sampler 1796, and that's stitched mostly over 1. And then in the bottom part, I'm going to put Teresa Vanette stitched her sampler, and then whatever year I finish it in. And I'm trying to come up with a verse that's kind of the idea of that we are 2 stitchers across centuries, and here we have worked on the same piece, kind of something the idea that we're, even though that we are far apart in time, that we are connected by needlework and by thread. I think that's neat. Hers, I don't remember what it was stitched in, but I changed mine to some threads I have, a couple of Nina's threads. I know I have like a banana nut bread thread that was a limited edition from the Gentle Art. I just used the DMC conversion that Paulette had included and then went through my threads and found threads that I had that would work nicely. And it's been a lot of fun to stitch. Like I said, the colors are very pretty, and these are pretty much the only colors. And it's just kind of pale, dusty pinks and taupes and gold. I've made a few little changes. This crown was supposed to be pink, and I stitched it in pink, and I rarely rip out because I don't like to. I like to stitch forward, not backward. But I decided I wanted it in more of a golden color, and so I did take that out and restitch it. And that one's been very fun to stitch. So that was the first one in my basket of starts. Okay, so my next selection for StitchyTube today is to talk about my whips. And I do have works in progress. I'm gonna make a proposal that I know WIPS stands for works in progress. I'm gonna propose, and when I think of WIPS, I'm gonna think of it in terms of what heaven I'm producing, W-H-I-P. So it's WIPS, the regular way to spell WIPS. What heaven I'm producing. And then if you have a piece that you hate, it can be what hell I'm producing. So I've got a couple that I've been working on. This first one is a Brenda Gervais piece. You know, we all love her. She's great. Her colors are great. Her designs are great. She's amazing. She's a very, very talented woman. And the name of the piece is called Grateful, Thankful, Blessed. And you can see I'm not particularly nice to my charts as I use them. They go with me in my bag. I pull them out, you know. I work from the chart. I don't really make copies. And so this is the piece. and I think it's super cute. And I am doing it in the suggested threads on the Picture This Plus. I think it's 36 count Ren linen. You can see there, all I've got is ankful. I did change the color of the thread for the words because I felt like the skein that I had that was going to be this color here really disappeared into the fabric, and I stitched really about as much as I've got there for that word, and you couldn't see it. So, and that's just how it goes sometimes. Sometimes the thread you've got is not going to work on the piece of fabric you've got. This one's been really fun. For me, what sold it for the sampler was this part up here. I love that pumpkin in the basket with the birds around it and the little berries. It's been very fun to stitch. The house is done all in sampler threads nutmeg. Oop, I've got a little thread sticking out there. Very fun. And I ironed these before I'm showing them to you because I stitch in hand, so when I stitch, my pieces get really wrinkly. And that's just how I stitch. That's how I learned. It's a very quick way to stitch. Okay, then, and I already showed you the Esther Sire, and then the other piece that I've been working on with regularity is called Spooky Countdown. This piece is a primitive hair chart, and I used to carry these in my shop, and she's very, very talented. If you can look for the primitive hair on Etsy, she sells her charts there. I think a lot of them are, if not all of them, are available as downloads, which means you could get inspired and go get it right now. Go look up the primitive hair. It's called Spooky Countdown. And what I liked about this is that it was lots of little, I'll hold it closer so you can see, lots of little just treats to stitch. And you can see she's finished hers as separate little pillows put into a very cute little holder there, and then just as a piece all stitched together. I'm doing mine on a piece of 40 count. I think it's just flax Newcastle with just the DMC threads. I do plan on over dyeing it with coffee, tea, cinnamon, something crazy to make it look kind of grungy when I'm done. But for right now, it's just on this lamb's wool linen, or not lamb's wool, flax with the DMC threads. It's like 9 colors of thread. So it's a great project to haul with you. You can get a square done. I can get a square done every lunch at work. I can get a square done. And this is how mine is turning out right now. And you can see it's just fun to look at. There's a noose, there's a ghost. I love, can you see the little number 11 with that little demon devil goblin there is super fun. And this has just been really a treat to stitch. And you definitely could, if you like stitching in overdyes or you like stitching in silks, like I said, it's not so many colors, and you definitely could play with overdyes. I did for the border here and here, stitched the black, I did a more of squares. She had done thin lines and thicker lines, but I did some smearing crosses with gold, and then the black is just in cross stitches just to give it a little bit of dimension. But that one has been really, really fun to do. And you can see each little square is just, it's 23 by 36 squares. And you could make, just like a bookmark out of these, or you could put, just 6 of them together in a block. But it really is a fun chart. And I believe that she's got one that's also a Christmas one. And I'm having so much fun stitching this one that I think I'm going to go ahead and get that Christmas one from her too. Because it really has been fun to stitch. And like I said, she's very talented. She's very, very sweet. So definitely look her up if you haven't seen her yet. So those are my whips that I'm sharing with you today. Now, another thing that people do is they share their stash. And now that I don't have a shop anymore, I'm just a regular stitcher like you guys. And so I like to go shopping too and find new things. Let's see where I put my stash. All right. So I've got, I'm calling it my stash flash. And it's just things that I have found recently to buy. I buy from different sources. Some I get through my friend Jen. Jen's Stitching Niche on Etsy. I shop with eBay. I shop with other online stores. eBay is a great resource for finding things that are out of print or hard to find. And so I'll share the things that I've got. Spirits and Spells is a new piece by Brenda Gervais. I'm sure other people have shared this. Uh-oh, we got shine going on. Very, very cute and small, which I like. And it's a little witch oval box, which to me just looks like a really fun project. I love her witches. They're very, kind of primitive, a little bit silly, cute, nice, not very many colors or things, but her pieces just are a joy to stitch. I love pieces that are not symmetrical, that are not perfect, that have lots of little elements and fun things to do. Another piece that I got recently, and I guess I'll take this one out too, is called 1,000 Hills. This one's by Plum Street Samplers. I also got this through Jen's store. And it is called 1,000 Hills. It's by Plum Street Samplers, and I just think this is brilliant. Love the sheep, love the cows, love the tree, the birds, the flowers, the little girl. It says, the fowls above, the Lord doth know. The earth with wonder he fills. The beasts of the forest belong to him, and the cattle on 1,000 hills. I should have put my glasses on. But isn't that pretty? Paulette, you're so amazing. Her pieces are just great. She is a treat. Okay, this one was an eBay find. You know, I had a shop, and you know, people always said like, oh, if I had a shop, I would have like 1,000 charts. And I clearly could have, but I don't. I have one box, and I have a basket, and that's what I have. And then I've got some collections of magazines and things that I subscribed to, and I've got quite a few hardcover books on things that I have found, you know, not just needlework, but crafts and folk art and stuff like that. But anyway, there were a lot of charts that came through my shop that I loved, that I never got one, and then they were discontinued, and I never got one. And it, you know, I kind of felt like having a shop that things were mine, and then they cycled through my life, and they went to other stitchers. Even though I didn't play with them, they kind of did belong to me in a way, because they belonged to my shop. Anyway, that's enough. Bright Needle, I thought those ladies were just brilliant. So bloody nice, and very talented. Liz Knudsen and Ann Pettit, I think it was. And this one is called Dollhouse, and it is definitely out of print. And I found it on eBay. And I think this one typically is pretty spendy if you want to find it on eBay. I got this one for $5.99, which when it was a buy it now, so I was just like mine, because I didn't end up with this one, and it's really, really neat. And I kind of have gotten into miniatures, and so of course I'm going to get this. I would love to have the needlework shop one too, and so I'm still looking for that one. And they have a Halloween house that's really cool that I never got. But anyway, I got this one. Their pieces are stitched over one. Their colors are amazing. This one is all in Anchor and DMC. Holy cow, I didn't realize how long that list was. But great, great. That just means it's going to be fun to stitch and to see all the pretty colors. Okay, this is another one that I found on eBay. Again, I think it's an out of print chart. I did carry, I think, for a bit here and there, the Fine Arts Heritage Society charts. They were kind of pre-Heaven and Earth Designs, where they did reproductions of famous paintings, and they were really neat. They had, you know, they had some cool Van Goghs and some Monets, and just anyway, I found this one for obvious reasons. I had to pick it back up. I don't think I ever carried this one in my shop. I really only got my first cat like 8 years ago, and so this is just super neat. Gotta have it. And I didn't, you know, I maybe paid $5 for that or something like that. And I think these were, you know, maybe $11, $12, $13 charts at the time, but do look for them. Fine Arts Heritage Society, if you like the kind of classic paintings and things. Okay, these are in, so we're gonna see if we can find. This is Shepherd Care Sampler, Little by Little. She's very talented. This was another eBay find, out of print, not available. One I never picked up. I do have a few of hers, but not as many as I would like, because her stuff is just really stinking cute. And so this says, the Lord my pasture shall prepare and guard me with shepherd care. And it's got a lot of cute sheep and a little pond of ducks and things, and super cute. This one, I don't remember where I got this, but I did get it recently. This is Mary Kay Holt's 1810 Sampler by Chessie and Me. And this is one that, let me get it in the, this is one that the year at market when it was released, does it say? It might say somewhere in there. I really liked it, and I got some for my shop, and they sold, and I never, you know, kept one, but I was thinking about it again recently. I was like, you know which one I really like? And it's just alphabets, and I don't always like samplers that are just alphabets. Sometimes they're just, you know, kind of boring. I love stitching alphabets, but the colors in this one, she stitched hers in Belle Soie, and it's really a pretty sampler. So that's Mary Kay Holt 1810 Sampler by Chessie and Me, and you probably can still get that one, I would guess. I don't know that she discontinues kits, but I think her charts are kind of forever. Okay, this one is like way throwback to, you know, yesteryear. like I said, I started stitching as a child, and I grew up, actually I'm just going to take a minute to talk about the Nordic needle. I grew up several blocks from the Nordic needle. I'm going to take a sip of my Coke real quick, sorry if this bothers you. I grew up several blocks from the Nordic needle, and I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota, which is a kind of Scandinavian town. And so Hardanger was very popular there. It still is. The Nordic needle was opened about 40 years ago, and I remember going to its first location, which I think was in downtown Fargo when I was a child. Then, like I said, they moved to their own building, and I grew up just blocks from there, and I would actually take my babysitting money and go to the Nordic needle and buy needlework supplies. And so I have a lot of fond memories of the Nordic needle. Of course, I lived in Fargo until just 11 years ago, and so that was my hometown needlework shop. I recently learned that they will be closing, which makes me very sad. The two original owners retired several years ago and sold the business, I think, to some gentleman who just, I don't know the story. I'm not going to say what the story is. I don't know it for sure. I've heard, rumors and things. But long story short, they're closing. And they used to just have the best selection of fabric, and their thread selection was amazing. They had like every thread you could think about. And they even distributed my charts for a while. So anyway, I'm just giving a shout out to the Nordic needle. I think their plan is to close around the first of the year. And so, end of an era. Doesn't mean I won't still think fondly of them. And anyway, when I was a child, one of the charts that I bought was this oldie but goodie. And I bought it, we had a craft store in the West Acres Mall in Fargo. And you guys are going to, some of you are going to laugh just remembering Donna Barton, good old Donna Barton. And I had this chart, and I remember buying it. And I thought it was so cute and pretty. You see all the geese, and this one here was the one I liked the best, just this little square with the geese, and it's very watercolory. Donna Barton was, a watercolorist who was very popular in the 80s. My first job was in a frame shop at the Great Frame Up, and I framed for years and years and years, and we, during those times, framed a lot of Donna Barton posters. And anyway, I don't know, I just got to thinking about her, and I was like, I wonder if, so I had this chart, and one year our house flooded. A water pipe burst in our house while we were away and ruined pretty much my entire stash. And this was one of the charts that didn't make it. And so, at that time, that was 21 years ago or so, there was no eBay, or there just was no going back to get this chart. And then I was thinking about it recently, and I was like, I wonder if I could find Donna Barton's charts on eBay. And sure enough, I think I paid $1.99 for it, $1.95, something like that in shipping. I would like to stitch this little square. It would make me happy because it's a memory of childhood, and I still think it's very cute. And are we far enough past geese being popular to cross stitch that they can be cute again? I know in the 80s it was like the geese with the blue bow around their neck. Geese are beautiful, right? Who knows? Okay, and then the last little bit of my stash flash. Oh, I've got two more stash flashes. The last kind of publication for stash flash is, sometimes when you're on eBay will say, hey, you might like this also. And they kind of throw something on your page. Maybe that's what it was. But anyway, I saw this woman's books, and she is a Japanese quilt designer named Yoko Saito. And it's Y-O-K-O, like Yoko Ono. And then her last name is Saito, S-A-I-T-O. And you can find her books on Amazon, and I found them on Etsy, and I found them on eBay. Some of them are discontinued, and so they're like, $40, $50 if you want to get a copy. And of course, the ones that I liked the best are the real expensive ones. So I found this book, which is called Japanese Taupe Color Theory, a study guide. And as a designer, this was really interesting to me. Even though I couldn't see very many pages, I knew that this was a book that would be interesting to me. And she has, to me, it's a very kind of a Blackbird Designs look to her. Here's the back. And this book is all about taupe and how you can use taupe when creating quilts and things. And so, like I said, this book, I found it as a buy it now for like $45, and I couldn't justify spending that much on it at, at the moment. But then it popped up from a thrift store that posts on eBay, and I got it for $20, which I felt was a steal because it is a 150-page book, and it's got lots of patterns for projects in it. Like here's, you can see one, this box. And one of the things I like about her designs is that they're lopsided. They're not perfect. And I can totally make not perfect things. You know what I mean? But she's got just like different, lots and lots and lots of pictures with ideas. She's also a fabric designer. And so if you go on Etsy especially and look for Yoko Sato, you can find her line of taupe kind of color theory fabrics. This is taupe as dark cherry. And so the idea of taupe is just that it's a neutral that you can use in a lot of different ways. Here's bitter chocolate as a neutral. And so, but there are, in the back, there's all these instructions for how to make these projects. I can't even tell you how wonderful this book is. The projects are amazing. How cute is that bag? I mean, I could flip to any page and they're all bloody amazing. So love it, love it. So then, of course, once I got this one in the mail, I was hooked. And I found another piece called Japanese Quilting Piece by Piece by Yoko Sato, 29 projects. And again, this one comes with a packet in the back full of patterns. And again, it's just her style of, look at this adorable little Quaker Star sewing case. And I'm just flipping randomly to the amazement. Cute, cute, cute. Amazing. Great. She's a great designer. I love that things are not, that everything is like slightly askew. That's my aesthetic. This one I got for 99 cents. It was a bid piece and people overlooked it. I got it for 99 cents and $3 shipping. I've got another one on the way that I think I paid $5.50 for. I think she's still designing. I don't know what she's got that's new, but you can bet that before Christmas I'm going to load up my Amazon wish list with books about Yoko Sato because she just is a really great designer. My last little stash flash that I've got is a piece of linen I got on eBay. There is a person there. Now I'm trying to remember. She's from, I don't know. Anyway, I'll put information below so you can find her too. She doesn't always post. She does have a blog. Ukrainian? But anyway, this is called Robin's Egg. It's a fabric that I got from her. I have bought numerous fabrics from her. She mainly dyes like 32 and 40 count, which of course are my two favorite counts. This one is Robin's Egg. Love that. Don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it screams like, kind of Easter, springy, primitive. She's great. She hand paints her pieces. And so when she posts on eBay, there's one of each. And she does not really do repeats. She kind of will paint a piece of fabric and there's one and that's it. And you can bid on it, and then she does buy it nows too. And it's very reasonably priced. And even though she's far away, her shipping is very reasonable. Okay, so that was my stash flash. All right, now another little segment. And I wanted to do something that was more kind of like just a show and tell about things that I like these days. And so this I'm calling I'm all into, which is just, how we get into things for a while and you have a product that you like or you have a tool that you like or something. And so these are a few things that I'm all into right now. Okay, so this one is Tazo tea and it's wild sweet orange. And these cups my mom gave me for Christmas a couple of years ago. They're from Starbucks. They've only done it one time. I looked to see if there were any other series that were like this, and there aren't, of these stacking cups. There's no handle on them, so when you make your tea, it keeps your hands warm because you hold it like this. But they stack and they're very cute. And so I make, in the evenings, Tazo tea, wild sweet orange, which is lemongrass, citrus herbs, licorice root, and then orange essence. And here's the deal with this. You can get this, I think, at Target, but I got a big bag of it on Amazon. You steep it, but not too long, like maybe a minute or so, and then take it out. And do not reuse the bag, because the second steeping, it will be really bitter. The first steeping is very sweet, and I do put a little bit of sugar in it because I've got a sweet tooth, and it's delightful. And it's not super, even though it's got licorice root in there, it's not licoricey. And it's orange tea, and it's a sweet orange tea. Sometimes you get orange tea, and it's like, yes, this is orange flavored. But this is kind of a more complex flavor. I can't really describe it, but it is definitely sweet, sweet orange and somewhat complex, but very, very drinkable. And I can drink it every day. Really love it. Okay, last night I was at, stopped to get a little cat food at Dollar General. And if you live in the South, Dollar General is on every corner. There's like, I'm not kidding when I say there are probably 30 Dollar Generals in Hattiesburg, which is a town of like 40,000 people. It's everywhere. And we have one in our neighborhood, and it's handy when I need just, you know, oh, I got to go get some cat food, or I need to go get some Coke or whatever. So they always have like kind of cool candy there. Like you can get Mary Jane's there. You can get all these like really old fashioned candy, slow pokes they have. And I like candy. But anyway, they get kind of cool Halloween candy, and I love sixlets. And look at how cute that is. Oh my Lord. It's $2 for a bag of these. You know, you got to get like a bag of them. There were a bunch of them in there. But that's just like the perfect amount of sixlets to sit down and have a little treat. Okay, so I'm all into that. My last, wait a minute, is this my last I'm all into? No, I got 2 more. Okay, EOS lip balm. Everybody knows like the ubiquitous egg shape lip balm where it's round and you do this. So I have had other EOS lip balms, but I found at Kohl's, they had this one and I had never seen it before, and it is apple honey, and it's like a lightly like caramel apple-y kind of flavor. It's my favorite one. Very, very good. Okay, my last I'm all into. This was something that I found on eBay a few years ago. Don't know how I found it. It's not something I really searched for. It probably just popped up and I thought it was hilarious. And I paid $7 for it, which is amazing. Somebody crocheted the word biscuits. That's amazing. Like, good for you. And I have looked for one that says gravy because I just think it would be a hoot to frame these that said biscuits and gravy. But anyway, biscuits. Yeah, biscuits are great. So that's my segment called I'm All Into. Okay, I think now, because I want it to be kind of random, I'm going to tell you about the mother of all giveaways. So here's the deal, guys. I'm going to give away something amazing. And I'm not going to do it every video. Of course, I can't. I will not be able to do this every video. I would like to do a giveaway with every video. This one is the mother of all giveaways. And so here's how you enter. I need you to subscribe, and then I need you to leave a comment. If you can give me a thumbs up too, I'd appreciate it. But I want you to leave a comment about what your favorite reproduction sampler is. So it could be something, it doesn't have to be by me and by anybody. And it doesn't have to be one that you've stitched or even one that you own. But just tell me in the comments what your favorite reproduction sampler is that somebody has put out. Can be any company. Just put the designer and then the name of the sampler. And it just will be fun to read. And then maybe you just include like why it's your favorite. I guess I should have said like what mine is, but I've got one to share with you that is definitely one of my favorites in a minute. But so here is the giveaway. So you have to subscribe. You have to leave a comment about your favorite reproduction sampler. I'm going to give this 2 weeks to give people time to find it because this is a really good giveaway, guys. And then I'm going to take all the names, do a random number generator, and then the person whose number is drawn will win this prize. Are you ready? It is a real antique sampler from 1804. It is one I have not reproduced. I bought it a while ago. I won't tell you how much I paid for it. Her name was Elizabeth Pierce, and she finished her sampler on May 8th, 1804. It has a number of verses on it. It says, "When this you see, though, pray think on me, though many miles we distant be." And then it says MP. And it's got a couple of other verses. The "Tell me ye knowing and discerning few about finding a friend." "The rose is red, the leaves are green, this is my work for to be seen. The leaves are green, the rose is red, this is my work when I am dead." And she's dead. Poor Elizabeth. But she left behind her sampler. It's in phenomenal shape. It's got crowns. Are you peeing your pants yet? It's got crowns. It's got shields. It's got kind of a fleur-de-lis type of a design. It's English. It's on a very kind of nut brown colored linen. And it's in great shape. There are just 4 little holes in the corner. Oop, there we go. There are just 4 little holes in the corners where it was framed at one point. The back, the colors are slightly brighter because it is an old sampler. I don't know how she originally had it hung. It came to me like this. The edges are very, neatly stitched under. And so this is the prize. You can see about how big it is. And that's the prize that I'm giving away. And it's kind of a celebration of my first StitchyTube video. And I'm happy to find a home for it. I hate to see it go, but the best gifts are the ones that hurt a little bit when you give them away. Isn't that right? So thanks to all who will enter. I wish you luck. I wish you luck. And so like I said, it'll be at least 2 weeks. So if I make a video in the meantime, I'm just maybe going to show it one more time and let people, go back to this original video to enter if they'd like to. But anyway, enter, and I'm calling it the mother of all giveaways. So spread the news. We'll see who can win it. Okay, this is my last little section, and this is going to be just my needlework show and tell. And you could call these FFOs if you want, or they're just things that I have stitched that I want to share with you. And then I'll start with this one. And actually, this is something that my friend Kathy made for me. And I got it for, I think, Christmas one year. And this is called the Bitter Flower Sampler, and it's by Birds of a Feather. The bee sucks honey out of the bitterest flower. And isn't that cute? I've got it framed in an East Side Moldings frame. She stitched it on a 32 count kind of neutral colored linen with the overdyed threads that it calls for. And that's not one that I've seen anybody show on FlossTube yet. I think it's kind of, it's pretty, it's very folky, and I hang this in my stitching room, which is, you're looking at it. I will say, I filmed a mini-tube video a while back in the room that's back here. There is now a man living in that room. Harrison's girlfriend, Christiana, has gone to Nice for the school year, and she's teaching English over there in Nice, which is nice, right? Nice Nice. She is a 20-minute walk from the Riviera. So things are tough all over. But anyway, Harrison was going to move in with a friend, and that kind of fell through at the last minute. And I said, hey, why don't you just move home? He is now, for those of you who have met Harrison at my stitching retreats back in Fargo, he is now 26 years old. He has a degree in psychology, and he is right now, he took his GRE, thinking about whether or not he wants to go to grad school and what he wants to do. But right now, he's just working and waiting for Christiana to come back. He will be going to France in the spring. But anyway, I lost my stitching room, and I've moved into this area, which kind of had been my plan all along. Someday I'll take you on a tour of it, but it's not all put back together yet because he just moved back a couple weeks ago, and I'm still putting things where I want them. Okay, so that was that piece. This is a piece that I talked about on my friend Jennifer. She has her channel that she does FlossTube videos, and it was a piece that we do kind of 20 questions with each other. And it was, what's a piece that you really like that you feel kind of didn't get enough attention? And this is a Blackbird Designs piece. This is why I had to think with the other one. This is a Blackbird Designs piece that is called Birds of a Feather. You got it? This one I believe is still available, even though it's a little bit older. It's one that I had in my shop that a couple times, and it just never really did as well as I thought it should, because it was very cute. They found an old sampler, I believe in Texas, and bought it and reproduced it mostly. I like the way they do reproductions when they take an old sampler but then kind of tweak it a little to be, they move something here, or they add something there, or they change the colors a little bit, or they put some different words on it or whatever. So that was what this one was. And it's so it's called Birds of a Feather. Hold it back so you can see. And this is a new frame, believe it or not. It's just made to look like an old frame. This was one that I carried in my shop, a frame that I carried in my shop that I really liked. This piece itself is very, very pretty. Theirs, I believe they charted to be stitched in needlepoint silks. I'm not going to be able to give you the conversion for mine because I lost. It was on a scrap of paper. I have no idea where it is, but I converted mine using their DMC conversion. And then just looking at the picture on the front, I converted it to overdyed threads that I had. And so I think it was a combination of Weeks Dye Works and sampler threads, maybe some crescent colors, maybe some limited edition colors. I just kind of went with whatever was close to those DMC colors that came with the design. And so that's that piece. And I think it's very pretty. It was really fun to stitch. Again, this is the type of piece that I like. You can see this border and this border are different. This border here changes. The flowers are different all the way down. You've got kind of alphabet sprinkled, different little birds. Even this bird is different from this bird. I like things that are not the same. To me, it's more fun to stitch when you've got a lot of variety. And so that's that one. But I hope you enjoyed looking at that one. Go check it out. Like I said, it is still available. Ask your local needle workshop if they can get you a copy of that, or they may have one kicking around. Okay. I'm not, I have a lot that I'll show you, so I'll just keep making videos. But this is the last kind of set of things I'll show you today. I have reproduced a good number of samplers. I have a good number of them yet to reproduce. You can see if you look, it's really hard to shoot these videos because it's not like looking into a mirror. So when I go this way, on the screen I'm looking at, my body goes that way. These samplers here have not been reproduced. This one is one of my reproductions here. This was a Nan Tyson-Euler class that I took. That is a piece my friend stitched for me, but you'll see all these in later videos. I'm not going to use it all up on the first video. But I reproduced samplers. One of the first big purchases I made was a set of 2 samplers by sisters, the Pattison girls. And I got it on Madalena, which is a website in England that sells very nice quality antique samplers. It's where I got my Ann Dale sampler as well. I got my Sarah Woodham sampler there. I got my Anne Grant sampler there. But the Pattison samplers, I think, was the second purchase that I made from them. And I had to pay on it for a while because it was 2 samplers that were stitched by sisters. And I inquired about them and said, I really like these. What can you tell me about them? And they told me a little bit. And of course, they had a bunch on their website. Their website is very good. It's madelena.com. And they sell Staffordshire and kind of other different antiques, and then samplers. They've got a whole section of samplers. They usually have about 100 up at a time. And I think they post every Tuesday still. So you can see usually 3 new samplers every Tuesday. But anyway, I inquired about these samplers, and they told me a little bit, and they said, of course, we're happy to sell you one if you would just like one. And I was like, you can't split up 2 samplers stitched by 2 sisters. Like, they'll never find each other again. And so, like I said, I paid on them for a while and was very happy to receive them. One of them I have in a frame, one of them I don't. The Jane Pattison is a sampler that I have reproduced, and I'm going to show you the original sampler, and then I'm going to show you the reproduction. This is the original. Oh, Lord, you don't want to see me more. I'm going to have to angle this so you don't go this way. Okay, so here's the sampler. I've got it in an old looking frame. It's not the original frame. The frame that I got with it was not the original frame. It just was a frame, and it wasn't very pretty. This is an Adam and Eve sampler. You can see they've got a lovely green snake climbing up that tree down at the bottom. I'm going to point out right now so you can see it. Their bodies are very pink. They're very pink bodied, which is fine. And look at the colors, so pretty. Just kind of taupes and light roses and those greens, dark greens, medium greens. Just a very pleasing palette. There's a dove at the top with a deer. The dove has a tiny turquoise bead for an eye. Very, very pretty. And I'll read the verse to you. I'll have to turn it around. I know it mostly. It says Christ's agony on the cross, and I believe some people have said this is a song that they sing at their church. I don't think I've heard it though. Stricken, smitten, and afflicted, see him dying on the tree. 'Tis the Christ by man rejected. Yes, my soul, 'tis he, 'tis he. Here we have a firm foundation. Here's the refuge of the lost. Christ's the rock of our salvation. His the name of which we boast. And there it is. So pretty. So that is one that I've reproduced. It is, I have reproduced a good number of samplers. This was one of the first reproductions I did, and really it's one that I'm most proud of because I feel like I really did an excellent job let's see if I can hold up both kind of together so you can kind of see how similar they are. I think the colors are really very close. The you know, it's a lot of work. A sampler this size. Here, I'll put the original back down so you can see the one that is restitched. I had a model stitcher stitch this one. It's probably 45 or 50,000 stitches, and so you have to chart every single stitch. And a lot of times with you know, when you're reproducing a sampler, these were girls. You can see at the bottom there it says Jane Philpott. Did I call her Pattison? I did. I have a Jane Pattison sampler. I have several Janes and several Anns and several Sarahs. Jane Philpott, Ramsgate, age 10 in 1837. So she was 10 years old. So you can imagine this is a very, very pretty sampler. She did an excellent job. But you can imagine little girls on these fine count linens, the thread count, they get off on their counting sometimes. So they're off by a thread this way and a thread that way and a thread this way, and they double up on a stitch here. So, you know, you think you have to place 50,000 stitches on a chart. It's a lot of work. And I think sometime I'll maybe make a video about what my method is for reproducing a sampler. My dad says, can't they just make a program to do that? No, you can't. You got to do it by hand. Anyway, very, very proud of this sampler, this reproduction. It is available. Hoffman's got it. If you go to Jen's Stitching Niche on Etsy, she's also got it too. Every one of my sampler graphs, the reproductions that I do, comes with at least one page of commentary about the sampler itself, what I think about it, what I like about it. I kind of just feel it adds a little interest. We all have charts that we just like to look at, and so I like to add a page of just comments so you can read about it and just enjoy the chart as just something that you have in your stash. There are little bits of just a really pale blue here and there. Very, very pleasing color combination. Definitely looks antique. I did not pull, Sarah's original sampler came mounted on a padded board, which I have just left it on that. It was very nicely mounted and there was no reason to remove it from that. I have had to rescue samplers from, you know, being nailed to boards and things like that. But that one was just fine. Anyway, this one, Jane Philpott, Philpott, very, very pretty sampler. Now let me show you her sister's sampler. One of the things that I liked about these two samplers is that they were sisters. They were stitched in a very similar palette, but it's two different samplers. Her sister stitched hers in the same year that Jane stitched hers. Her sister's name was Sarah. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try to set this down. And hers was a similar sampler with the verse called Heaven Anticipated. And here is Sarah's sampler. And this one I have not reproduced yet, but it is, of course, on my list of ones that I will reproduce at some point. You can see this one is different. One of the things that I like about seeing samplers is you learn a lot about the stitcher just when you're going over it stitch by stitch by stitch. You can learn things about them. Were they a neat stitcher? How did they do counting? Were they very accurate or were they inaccurate? Did they make changes? Did they add things? I have one sampler where there's a horse stitched on it. And the horse is pretty neatly done, but then it's got a crazy mane, which to me said that the girl was like, this horse needs a mane, and so she just made up a mane for that horse to have. But this one you can see some of the similar flowers, some of the same like dusty blues in there, the greens, the taupes. There are little flashes of Sarah's personality. You can see, you know, these flowers here are in, you know, it's all in silk, but they're in kind of dusty colors. And then this one here, what's with that splash of pink? It's just like she went, you know what? I'm just throwing some pink in there. And because it's the color that they used for their names. But here's a pink strawberry, just because she was like, you know what? I like that pink and I'm going to try to use it other places. I'm going to put some at the bottom of this basket because I want to. And so to me, this says like she was a little bit more of a free spirit. Even though she was more of a free spirit, I have found just in looking at this sampler that Sarah was actually a better stitcher. She doesn't do as much carrying of her threads. Her counting was a little bit better, but she just had that little flash of a kind of rebelliousness or something, that she was using threads Jane's sampler is, you can tell it was probably done exactly to the colors that were suggested. And this one, I just like that there are those little moments where she said, you know what, I'm gonna do what I wanna do. The deer up here, super charming with the tree. Tiny, tiny little deer here in the background. I'll read the verse to you. And this is a similar technique to the finishing that the other one came on with, which was just, it was stitched down to a padded board. So this one says, what must it be to dwell above at God's right hand where Jesus reigns, since the sweet earnest of his love overwhelms us on these dreary plains. No heart can think, no tongue explain what bless it is with Christ to reign. So very, very pretty. And so I just thought I'd share those with you today. You know, one of the things I think that's great about needlework is that it's such an old art form. But to me, one of the things that makes it most amazing is that it's an art form that was created by children. And if you go to a museum, you're going to see works by Picasso and Monet and Rembrandt, and you're going to see bronze, you know, statues, and you're going to see pottery created by adults. And then there are these amazing works of art that were made by children, and it may have been the only work of art they ever created. But if you go to some of the best museums in the world, you're going to find works of art made by 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds as part of their schoolwork. And they are beautiful. They are amazing. They required a lot of patience. They required a lot of skill. I look through pictures of samplers and think, you know, see something and I think, oh my gosh, there's no way I could ever make anything as wonderful as that. That's way more than I will ever do. And think about the resources I have, computers and printed charts and all the threads and all the tools and things. And these children made samplers that were just so beautiful and so just kind of touching and heartfelt and homey. And you know, I think that we as stitchers, we just continue that. People lament the end of the needlework craft, you know, and they say like, and even with the Nordic needle closing, oh, needlework is dying. It isn't. It isn't. Even when I had my store, people said, aren't you afraid that people will stop stitching? And I've been to Europe and I've seen linen that had stitches on it that was thousands of years old from ancient Egypt. And I've seen, you know, samplers. I've seen the Jane Bostock sampler, which is what, 1597, I think. I've seen paintings of people with brilliantly embroidered clothing. I've seen pictures and actual examples of bedclothes and cushions and upholstery. And needlework isn't going anywhere. It's here. And people are stitching. And watch FlossTube and you'll see what they're doing now. You'll see people who are doing things that are historical. You'll see people stitching things that are funny and current. And we do it because we love it and because it's fun and it's creative and it's a great way to pass your time. I feel that a lot of times needlework is almost like meditating, that it's something you do and you repeat and you repeat and you put stitches in place and you follow a chart, and that it can be very calming and very centering, and it gives you time to think not only about the needlework but to think about your life and the world and big things and little things, and sit and sip your sweet orange tea and watch some ladies on FlossTube or listen to your James Taylor or your Nora Jones. Or just listen to the birds. What a wonderful thing that we live in a day and age where we have technology that gives us free time. We have wash machines and dishwashers and cars and things that give us this extra free time that we can spend it sitting and stitching and thinking and enjoying. And I just think that's one of the great things about needlework. Good luck on the Mother of All giveaways. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I have enjoyed sharing with you, and I will enjoy sharing with you. If you have questions, I would love to answer questions. If you have comments, I would love to see your comments. And I hope you'll come back for for more. Tell your friends. Give me a like, give me a comment. Make sure to enter the contest, and we will definitely see you next time. Until then, happy stitching. Bye-bye.